back to the channel. Here are some more answers to members' questions, either from Black Belt Secrets or from Black Belt Barrister. If you're not familiar with Black Belt Barrister, hop over there and subscribe as well after this video. This question comes from Lee Shellham, a loyal member for quite some time now, earning those stripes over on Black Belt Barrister. The question is, what is my honest opinion of section 163? Do I think it's open to misuse? Now, for those that don't know, Section 163 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 allows a constable in uniform to stop any vehicle being driven on the road at any time for no reason. And any person driving instructed to do so must stop, otherwise they are guilty of an offence. My honest opinion of it, I think it's necessary to cover a wide range of situations where the police do need to stop a vehicle for some reason to carry out some check or another. But because it doesn't require any other reason other than just requiring the vehicle to stop, that naturally leads on to the possibility that it's open to misuse. Now, if we look at this from a standpoint of the police need to be in a position where they can check drivers' documents and all of these kind of things, I suppose it is necessary for the police to have this power to be able to stop any vehicle so they can carry out these checks. But of course, like many other things, it will always be open to abuse. I'm not sure if there's an easy way around it to take that power away and still be able to carry out those checks when necessary. Although many of the checks, of course, can be done by the vehicle VRM, but that's not to say that the vehicle has been cloned or anything like that, which still gives rise to the police needing a reason to pull vehicles over, to speak to the driver, and so on. So very difficult, that one, Lee, but I hope that gives you some insight into what I might think about it. Bob McLeod says, can I elaborate more on PCSOs? Do they have police powers to stop and ask questions about you, name and address, and so on? Well, there are various powers that are granted to PCSOs, although they are not full police officers. Community support officers, of course, but paragraph 1A of Schedule 4 to the Police and Reform Act 2002 provides that they do have the power to ask for name and address of a person that they have reason to believe they've committed a relevant offence or relevant licensing offence, and so on. So yes, broadly speaking, and also under the Antisocial Behaviour Act 2003, there are various powers to ask name and address by a PCSO, so I hope that assists to answer your question. John Osborne asks an interesting question. Is it an offence for a delivery driver to sign for a package in your name? John says he's had occasions where he checks the online tracking and it says that someone with his name has signed for the parcel when he wasn't there. Well, signing in someone else's name is by default a form of fraud because they are not you, they cannot sign in your name. What I suspect they are doing is just bypassing the system because the system tells them that they have to have a signature even if you've said to leave the parcel somewhere. If, on the other hand, you haven't left any leave safe, leave with neighbour instructions, and they sign it and leave it anyway, then that would amount to some kind of fraud because they are, in effect, entering some kind of agreement, i.e. receipt of said parcel, in your name when you haven't done so. Particularly relevant if it's an expensive item and there are no leave safe, leave with neighbour instructions and they've just left it anyway. I would take serious issue with that, particularly if you've got CCTV evidence that shows that they've done that and shouldn't have done that. I'd be quite annoyed by that, quite frankly, so I hope that assists your question, John. Lee Richardson asks, what would be classed as a reasonable amount to be deducted? This is in relation to the sale of a second-hand car. If you claim and you get a refund, but there's a reasonable deduction made because you've had some use of the vehicle. This, I think, really depends on the vehicle itself. So if it's a very expensive vehicle, let's say £80,000, and you've had X months use of it, it might be taken to be, what would you have had to pay to use a vehicle like that for that number of months? Whereas if the vehicle's, I don't know, £500 or £1,000, then obviously that's going to be significantly less. So it would probably work out to be roughly what it would cost you to have the use of such a vehicle for that period of time. So that's probably what the court would look at. Once again, that question was from Lee Richardson. I hope that helps. So those are just a few questions answered, many more to come. Please remember to like and subscribe, and more to follow.